Hi folks, I'm Gene McLaughlin. I'd like to welcome you to Let's Talk About. Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting program, one that's taking root here in the township called Trap, Neuter, and Release, in a way to handle feral cats. And to kick this off, I've asked Mayor Henry to say a few words. Mayor?
How are you doing, Gene? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
But what's the problem as you see it right now with the cats?
Since the beginning of time, people have had irresponsible pet owners, as we like to say.
Yes, sir.
And the feral cat problem has always been around. It seems to be now exacerbated because more people are getting animals, and we know the high rate of the cats.
Yeah.
And they start to become sometimes a nuisance to some people, and also unhealthy for the animals themselves.
Right.
And as you know, my administration is very animal friendly.
Right.
We've made many improvements down at the shelter.
Yes.
And one way we think we can make Old Bridge a better place is to have this Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, and Release program to help not only the people that are dealing with the cat colonies, but also the animals themselves.
Mayor, you getting a lot of complaints from the residents on your hotline or whatever?
Since we've started the program, the complaints are down. But yes, we do get complaints, people where it's gotten out of hand at some locations. Some people don't know how to handle a cat colony, so we're trying to educate those people. Currently, we're dealing with a house in Old Bridge where there was over 50 cats inside the house. We're trying to get them out. A few at a time. We're trying to, get them the health care that they need. We're trying to get them adopted. So those are the kind of issues that we deal with. But I think it says a lot about our shelter that we're prepared to deal with such a situation.
It seems like this program, this Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate you mentioned, and Release, is becoming more prevalent in other communities as well, because they seem to have the same problem.
It's a statewide, sure, it's a countrywide problem. Some towns more than others. The cities seem to be a little bit more prone, or rural areas. We seem to get the overflow. People bring their cats to Old Bridge and think it's a good idea to let them loose somewhere here, But we're dealing with it, and I'm very happy that we have people willing to step up to the plate to volunteer. I'm very happy the council took action and implemented an ordinance that allows this to happen and allows the police to oversee it. It's done right, and it will work. It's not going to solve the problem, but it will make it better for both the people and the animals.
And it will reduce the population of feral
Over a period
cats.
of time, it does. Facts have proven that it does lower the number of cats, yes. Because it's a tough life. Being a feral cat is not the life that we would want any animal to lead.
No, and yet these animals become feral because they run away or they're abandoned, or
the way they mate. A lot of interbreeding going on. Sickness is transferred from one generation to the next. Genetics, I think, play a role where I've seen some. It's horrible.
Okay.
It's horrible.
Well, Mayor, thanks for coming in and introducing this. We're going to have Dr. Greenberg here as a guest in a moment.
You'll get a lot of information. Mr. Morrison is going to be here. Unfortunately, recently we lost one of the leaders of this group. I'm sure Anita was going to say a little bit about her. I was tragically suddenly lost in an automobile accident, who was actually spearheading with Mr. Morrison this effort. But we're going to carry on in her footsteps. Somebody else was going to have to step up to the plate and take over.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you.
Folks, please stay with us. We'll be back in a moment with Dr. Greenberg and a guest to talk more about this problem and to discuss the whole program that we're talking about today. Stay with us.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
Folks, welcome back to Let's Talk About. Today we're talking about our program here in town, Trap, Neuter, and Release, to help us deal with the feral cat population. My guest is Dr. Anita Greenberg, who is a councilwoman, and she's also a longtime veterinarian in the township. And we also have a volunteer, Jim Morrison, who is the administrator of the TNR program here in the township, and also an organization, Jim, Save All Stray Cats.
Correct.
Okay, well, Jim, want to thank you for being with us, and Anita, always good to have you.
Always good to see you,
Dr. Greenberg, a little bit about your background. People obviously know you from the council, but a few things about your volunteer, your work, your veterinary work, and why
I've
you
lived
became
in
a
town
champion.
for 25 years. I'm a councilwoman, and I've been practicing veterinary medicine for over 35 years now. And my husband and I, Dr. Daniel Belli and myself, have the East Brunswick Animal Hospital now for 30 years. And being in town and an animal lover and in tune to the residents, I realized that we had a feral cat population throughout the town, different segments throughout the town, but also it was becoming a problem. And the problem existed because there were people volunteers doing the program, Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, and Release, but we didn't have an ordinance. So one, they weren't protected. Then we also have residents that, rightfully so, that had complaints. Not everyone likes cats. I don't understand why. They're wonderful, but I'll let that go. But the thing is, we have to be respectful of the residents that don't like cats and their property. And then also, really, the thing that concerned me most was that a lot of these feral cats were winding up in the shelter. And when a feral cat winds up in the shelter, ultimately they're going to be euthanized. And I realized that was happening, and it was demoralizing the workers and volunteers at the shelter to see a cat come in. A cat should not be put, in a feral cat into the shelter. They're fearful. They have to hold them for 7 to 10 days, and then they're euthanized. And what kind of society are we if we continue to do that? Also, to control the feral cat population, it's proven that trap and kill does not work. And also, I feel bad for these cats. They are domestic animals. They do not want to live the life that they've were offered, but they want to survive also. So cats are creatures of comfort. They love to be on your lap. They love if you have a fire during the winter, be there. They don't want to be out in the cold and be starving. So we have to help the problem, and we also have to think of public health. So the best way to do it nationally, and there is a movement nationally, is the TNR program.
Dr. Greenberg, if I may, what is a feral cat? How do you define a feral cat?
A feral cat that has not socialized, that it's not adoptable. And it probably came where the cat was abandoned, and once the mates and reproduce their offspring, they haven't been handled by no human contact. And so to survive, they're feral. That's how they become feral.
They become abandoned, or they run away,
and they reproduce, and they've lived outside, and they haven't had any human contact. They're not socialized.
So now they're called feral.
They're feral.
Okay. Jim, how did you get involved in this whole program?
I used to walk my dog through Veterans Park, and I'd see these cats, and they kept increasing in numbers. And actually, I asked Dr. Greenberg one day, what could we do to help them? And she said, TNR. I had cats, and I had them spayed and neutered, but I wasn't familiar with the trapping and so on. So we did 57 cats. 2 we adopted out before they were spayed and neutered, and 1 disappeared. That was in 2011, and we never had kittens after that. So that proved that the TNR worked. And then I got addicted to the TNR.
And I would like to add that
please,
with the feral cats that are out there, when we trap them, because sometimes people abandon pets also. And so we realize if those cats are adoptable and sociable and tame, we try to find them homes. Then obviously when these feral cats have kittens, if we get the kittens soon enough, then we can find them homes, and they won't be feral. They're adoptable, and they'll be socialized and make wonderful pets.
Can you just share with the viewers the statistics on the population of the cat population, how it grows?
Well, first of all, there's a formula also that in Sustainable New Jersey that actually PetSmart Charities came up with, that you could figure out your feral cat population based on the population of your town. And usually if you take the population of the town and you divide it by 15, that's how many feral cats that are out there.
Really? Do you have any idea how many feral cats there are in Old Bridge right now?
So if you take the population of Old Bridge, you divide it by 15, I'd say we have about 4,500.
Wow, that's quite
It's hard to imagine.
I was just going to say that's quite an effort there, Jim.
I think there's a lot more myself from what I've seen.
What we've seen.
Do you know where they are, these colonies? Do they go to a certain area?
A lot of colonies are there. A lot of them in apartment complexes, a lot of it by different homeowners association, condo associations. We have one colony that's very well maintained by a woman, Veronica Utter, down at the Lawrence Harbor beachfront. We have multiple colonies throughout the town at the Lowe's on Route on 9, the Lowe's, there was a colony there. So what we're trying to do, right now at Society Hill, there was a big colony. We have another colony that I've gotten actually complaints about on York Street, which is very unusual in a neighborhood like that. But it starts out that people abandon. And then where we have open space, I've seen it myself, and it's very upsetting. I wish I had gotten the license plates of numbers. People just bring cats, or if the cat had a litter, and they just dump it off at a wooded area.
Really?
And that's how I got a lot of my barn cats.
Wow.
You know?
That's quite a process.
That's what happened
please,
in Kentucky Fried Chicken. Someone dumped 6 kittens, and I got a call a couple of months ago from a kind woman who was coming from the airport and saw a kitten in Kentucky Fried Chicken. I went over, trapped the cat. We called him the Colonel now. And she took the cat into her house, but the facility couldn't do anything, Kentucky Fried Chicken, because they felt if they trapped the cat, it would look bad to their customers.
I can understand, sure.
So we don't know what happened to the other 5 kittens, but they were not there. How that one cat survived for 6 months, I'll never know.
Jim, can you touch a little bit on the trapping? How are they trapped?
Well, we have a device where we put the food in and they go into it, and it springs the door that shuts.
Behind them, sort of, and holds them in a cage.
And then we have another door because we hold them for a few days, either prior to surgery or after. And we have a fork that goes in so we can change the newspapers, because that's where they go to the bathroom. And we feed them, and then after surgery we do the same. The hardest part is really explaining to people how to do this, so we can train the caregiver, because in the future more cats ever show up. I have one now where I did about 18 cats for this woman. She called me just yesterday, 2 more cats have showed up. It's important that we always continue with them. I try to call them back. We have a group now in Society Hill where the people are wonderful. The community itself is trying to find feeding spots for them. I'll go over later today and drop off some traps where they will actually set the trap. We train them, and we train them as caregivers. They actually fill out papers and forms, which we keep in the town. So we have a record of who's responsible for caring for these cats.
Okay, I was going to get to that too. Where are they neutered? Where do you take them for neutering?
Mostly to performance, People for Animals, rather, in Robbinsville.
Oh, that's another group?
Well, they do they have a veterinary there who does the spaying and neutering. And they do it as an assembly line. They do, from what I gather, at least 50 cats a day.
Well, this is a pretty quick process, I take it, Anita.
Well, People for Animals is a wonderful organization. In fact, I got in touch with them because in the League of a Municipality magazine, that's how I read about them and Hillside, and that's why I introduced the ordinance in town, Hillside. But I just want to say, this problem comes from a lot of times, as I said, irresponsible people, or they just don't know. And that's why it's so important to spay and neuter your pet. It makes a better pet, a healthier pet, to begin
Yes,
with.
ma'am.
But also, if it gets out, we don't have to, we can identify. That's why when these cats are spayed and neutered, we tip the left ear, so then we know that they're spayed and neutered already and they're vaccinated. The sad part with the program, it is all volunteers, and it is overwhelming, and it's a problem that we have to recognize. It will probably never go away, but you have to do your best to reduce the numbers and do the best you can. And also educating the public is most important. A lot of times they'll call up and they want us to take these cats away somewhere. There's no place to bring cats. So we want to have the spaying neuter done, reduce the problems with them, reduce the complaints that they have, and then obviously reproduce more reduce the numbers of more cats coming in the area.
Okay, Dr. Greenberg, if I can just interrupt you for a moment,
Sure.
I'd appreciate it. Folks, we're talking with Dr. Anita Greenberg and Jim Morrison about the problem with feral cats here in the township and how the problem is being addressed. Please stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Caring for a family member can be challenging and lead to countless questions for them and for you. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About. Today we're talking about the Trap Neuter Release Program here in the township to deal with the population of feral cats. My guests once again are Dr. Anita Greenberg, councilwoman and a veterinarian here in the township, and a volunteer and the administrator of the TNR program, Jim Morrison. Folks, thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Dr. Greenberg, when these animals get neutered, spayed, whatever, are they less feral and do they become more sociable? Or?
More sociable in the sense that I would say their behavioral, characteristics that most people don't like go away. There's not, the males aren't fighting. There's not the noise when they're mating, not the noise when they're fighting. The male loses the smell in his urine. The spraying diminishes. So they stay closer together. They don't roam. So it really diminishes a lot of the behavioral problems.
Okay, you had mentioned that it's difficult to put them back in the shelter once they're neutered. Where do they go once you neuter them?
The program speaks for itself. Trap, neuter, vaccinate, release. They are released where they were found.
Okay.
And so by neutering and spaying them, the numbers, they can't have more cats. So say like there's 10 cats, just by attrition it will be reduced and then eventually the colony goes away. And so the program is successful based on educating people about the program, to getting volunteers to trap, volunteers to be caretakers for the colonies. As we said, they have to register to be a colony caretaker, and we document how many cats. Usually what happens when we spay and neuter, we take a picture of the cat. So then we have a record of the cat. We have a medical record for them. And obviously, as I said before, they're ear tipped. So you know if you see a left ear that is ear tipped, then you know that cat has been spayed and neutered already.
So you can actually, I was going to get to this, but you just answered my question. You can actually track or document your progress in doing this.
Yes, and it actually, just from the 1 year having it, I heard from the animal shelter that they feel it's a success because it's less stray cats that are being brought to the shelter. And as I said, once they're in the shelter, these feral cats, it's really a death sentence. And then there's a cost to the shelter to hold them for that amount of time and the euthanasia of the cat.
Right. One thing I mentioned to you off the air, do you have the resources to stay ahead of this exploding feral cat population?
Well, that's very difficult also. We try to do fundraising. In my article, monthly article, in All Around Old Bridge, I ask people to be kind and to please donate to Save All Stray Cats. And some people have stepped up to the plate, and we appreciate that. We try to get funding from the people for, as I said, it's a reduced cost, but we also from the League of Animal Protection, they'll give us a voucher of $30 towards it, so that's helpful. They give out so many of those, but we're also asking our grant writer in town to write a grant because with that, we know that, for example, Edison got $50,000.
Really?
So we hope if the grant is written and we show the success that we've done in 1 year, that we'll also get the grant, and that will go so far to help.
Okay, thank you. Jim, a question. You go out to try to get volunteers, caretakers, people to feed. Is that part of your mission?
Yes. Actually, the caretakers usually are the ones who call us to do the TNR.
Oh, really?
So they're already set up. There are many people feeding the cats, but they're newly introduced to the TNR. And we try to get them before they're overwhelmed with kittens. That becomes the real problem. A lot of the hoarders are just overwhelmed because they never did TNR and they have all these kittens being born.
Yeah, that is amazing. I'll tell you, I was just amazed at the numbers that you can generate from one cat.
It's incredible. Tragically, last month we lost one of our best trappers, Madeline Paccioni, and she was killed in an automobile accident, but she was amazing where she went to different homeowners association to speak to them about the program, and then she was very much hands-on and one-on-one teaching people how to trap, how to use the apparatus. That's the thing. We'll lend them traps if they need traps. They can get traps from the shelter. So, she was so instrumental in the program, so we're hoping someone else will step up and fill her shoes, which will be very difficult to do, but we are very open to anyone who's interested in helping us.
Okay. Dr. Greenberg, I must say, from what I read too, there are some people that are not big fans of TNR. You have some opposition, some trap and kill type of people.
Yeah, there are, because people just don't, there are those who just don't like cats.
Yeah.
But my answer to that is, sure, we don't, you might have squirrels, you might have raccoons or something, you just can't go around killing them.
No.
And so this is a way that is proven with scientific data that it is effective and it's successful. So I hope they'll be open to this program and give it a chance. And for those who don't like cats on their property, there are some things that you could do in your garden. There's some plants that you can plant. They don't like rue. They don't like lavender, for example.
Oh, okay.
They don't like citrus smelling, so obviously if you have lemon peels and orange peels, you put them in your garden, they'll keep them, keep
Really?
them away. Even coffee grounds will stop, because a lot of people call and complain that that cats are in the yards soiling their gardens. So sometimes coffee grounds, if you pour them down around your plants, that will keep them away. So there's different things that you could do, and hopefully that will be successful. But given time with this, and if everyone partners together, hopefully this program will be successful. And I did get data from other towns that have ordinance, and they said overwhelmingly. In fact, in a community, there's an organization actually called Alley Cat Alley, and they're based out of Washington, D.C., and if you go on to their website, it's a wealth of information, and they'll give you the scientific data. But they were instrumental in the Boardwalk Project in Atlantic City. And in that community, there were so many feral cats under the boardwalk. They went in there and have it under control, and by attrition, the colonies basically diminished.
Okay. If I could just interject on the trap and kill, basically that's what's been in effect until TNR came along.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And as a result of trap and kill, we have, it's estimated, 70 million homeless cats in the United States.
Really?
So obviously that didn't work. Also, I grew up in Newark. We all had cats, and the reason we had them was to keep the rodent population down.
Okay.
So to the cat haters, I hope you don't get infested with mice and rats. But it would kind of be poetic justice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess it would be.
Actually, cats are wonderful if you think, with the bubonic plague.
Yeah.
Cats actually helped to save human population.
Oh, did they really back
Yeah.
then? Cats were very instrumental in that.
Oh, instrumental, because it was the rodents that were
Spreading.
transmitting the disease. First, they thought it was cats, and they were killing the cats back then.
Right.
The infestation, the spread of the disease augmented, and then they realized it was the rodents, and the cats killed the rodents and saved the population.
Saved it.
So?
Jim, you were going to say something.
Well, the reason that they noticed it wasn't the cats is some people disobeyed the law by not killing their animals, and then they noticed that the people who let the cats live weren't getting the plague.
Okay.
So I think cats have done a lot of good throughout history. Also, they protected the grains when we were first shipping way back.
Oh, so
thousands
the
of
rodents
years
would get
ago.
into the grain,
Exactly.
bags of grain and so on.
Right.
Okay. How about educating it? Dr. Greenberg, you mentioned trying to educate the public. I know you do the column in around Old Bridge. Any other educational means, or Jim, do you have any other educational means you use?
For me, the biggest problem in this starting point should be education. A lot of people just don't understand how to control the cat
Do you talk to
population.
groups about this, or do you? Dr.
Yeah, we did a program last year at the library and gave a class, and we're going to schedule another one of those. At the animal shelter, when people come in, they try to educate them. As I said, Mr. Morrison has a Facebook page. He has a website. So I try to talk about it, whenever I get complaints, I always, address it with people. When I go to homeowners association, we have a great homeowners association group that Mary Sohar, Councilwoman Sohar, started, initiated the program again. It had been, really not active for a long time. When we go there, in fact, Mr. Morrison and Maddie went to the last one. The mayor's always talking about it because it is a real problem, and we have, as community leaders, we have to address it. You can't ignore it, and we have to be able to explain to both views that this is a program that is effective, and it's in its infancy stage, and we hope that it will be successful. And things take time and patience, and hopefully that we just keep advancing and having good data that proves that it works.
Okay, well, you've been a tremendous champion of it, obviously. One other question I do have, or a comment. You mentioned on the break that you wanted to deter people from feeding cats.
Well, the thing is, I wanted them to feed them properly, and this is the problem. People will call me and say, oh, I have a lot of cats. I've been feeding cats, and now there's so many cats. And it's very nice and compassionate. Just like we put out food for birds also. Birds will soil on my car driveway. I don't dislike the birds. It's okay. And so the thing is with cats, when you see 1 or 2 cats, that's when they should address the problem. If you're going to feed them with one or 2 cats, it's best to have them trapped, neutered, vaccinated, and released. It will save you money on feed in the long run, what you would have spent to have them spayed or neutered. But not only that, there's a process when you feed them. A lot of times people put down food and then they just leave the plates and leave it. That's how you get insects and things like that. When I put out food, and anyone does, they should put it out really a half hour and then pick it up. The cats who are in the area will get accustomed that you put the food out, you walk away for a while, you could be, if it's in your yard, you put it out, you could see them eating it. When they're done, just pick it up. Don't leave it out. That will bring other animals, other creatures, and it's not good.
Okay. Well, Dr. Greenberg, thank you for being here today.
Thank
and
you.
Jim, keep up the good work. I do
Does
have
a
your
wonderful
telephone
job.
number. We'll put it up on the screen if people want to reach you at 732-337-7307. And we have your website. We'll put that up on the screen as well. And thank you for your help. Thank you for doing a great job.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you for having us today.
And folks, this has been Let's Talk About. Our guest, Dr. Anita Greenberg, and a volunteer and administrator of the TNR program. here in the township, Jim Morrison. Want to thank you for watching. We hope you gave you some insight into this important new initiative here in the township. Thanks for watching. I'm Gene McLaughlin. Take care.